So I'll start with coronavirus support then. So I think it was very welcome and pragmatic, the extension to the furlough scheme. And they put those stages in around employers' contribution, moving to 10% in July, 20% in August and September. I think there's still some more detail to be had around what the support's likely to be for self-employed. It talks about 600,000 more people being eligible for those schemes. So I think I'd really like to see the detail of that to assess whether it really is good and beneficial and the correct kind of support. Universal credit, working tax credit, fine. A rise in national minimum wage to £8.91 for an hour is good. I guess questions around that about, certainly from the universal credit standpoint, how long will that stay around? But I think, quite pragmatic and sensible support, given that we know that the COVID situation is changing and we hope for the better, but still quite unpredictable. I think, Claire, from a taxation standpoint, here was where we had a bit of a sting in the tail, really. Income tax rates remaining the same, so frozen. The big shift then is the corporation tax moving from 19% to 25% in April 2023. Clearly, there does need to be a levy. Clearly, something needs to pay for all the additional cost of COVID. And it looks like it's corporation tax that is really going to hit businesses hard, particularly smaller businesses. I know they've talked about retaining a 19% rate for the less than £50,000 profit businesses, but that's still going to hit businesses very, very hard. I think the stamp duty holiday, extending that to June would be great. So that will do a lot for the construction sector. No changes in IHT, no changes in pension allowance. So something to watch out for there, I think. The big one for us was around capital gains tax. So there has been a lot of speculation about this £1 million 10% allowance. It hasn't been addressed in this budget. So I think my message for businesses there is that if you're looking to realise, to crystallise the value of your business, be it a partial or full exit, I think there is a window there to start looking at that and enjoying that capital gains tax benefit. My sense still is that that might change in the future. Some strong support around arts and things like professional sport at grassroots level. So I think that will be very, very widely needed and very widely accepted. I think it's really important that we get the performing arts working again, as well as museums and galleries. Talk about this, firms being able to deduct investment costs from tax bills, reducing taxable profits by 130%. That, for me, on the face of it, sounds like it's a repackaging of R&D tax credits. So I'd like to look at that one a little bit closer and to say, is that real, or are we in fact just restating what we do around R&D tax credits? What I would say is that R&D tax credits is a good scheme, and so I'm very pleased if it's staying, even if it's just perhaps been defined in a slightly different way. VAT rates for hospitality firms then at a reduced rate of 5% until September and 12.5% for the next 6 months. Absolutely critical. Pubs, bars, restaurants, hotels need that support, and they need that lifeline. And I think equally, business rate holidays is another good way of them enjoying that and giving them a chance to restart. I think there's a lot of news and possibly bad news still to come from those sectors. £5 billion in restart grants for businesses that were forced to close, £6,000 for premises for non-essential outlets due to reopen in April, and £18,000 for gyms, personal care providers and other hospitality. Again, the devil is in the detail on these things, so very welcome on the face of it, but I'd like to see how that's really manifesting itself in the pockets of those business owners and leaders, because they have had a particularly tough time. Lots of talk about help for startup businesses and also growth businesses. A little bit more detail is needed, but it does feel like there are going to be some initiatives run through the business schools of universities by and large, which will be about helping businesses grow. And if that's the same premise that we saw back in 2008, i.e. about protecting jobs and then creating jobs and helping businesses grow, we would really like to see that manifest itself. And it's something that's very close to our heart, because it's a bit about what we do. What else can we say? £15 billion in green bonds for retail investors. So that's encouraging us to get to a net zero from a carbon footprint standpoint. And then the final thing I've picked up is the first of 8 sites for free ports announced in England. I live in Southampton. It's a big port community, so I'll be interested to see how that comes through. And again, something else that should stimulate demand in those seafaring towns. So from my side, a pragmatic budget. On the face of it, lots given away, a big clawback then around corporation tax. Still a lot of speculation in my mind about what might happen around CGT, capital gains tax, particularly around business asset disposal relief. But I'm positive about it. My message to business leaders on the back of that is pretty similar to before it, actually. Now is a really good time to take stock of your business, decide what you want to do next, and get that plan in place. We are seeing a lot of activity. The market is strong, save for those sectors that have been truly affected, those mass gathering type sectors. But outside of that, there is a lot of activity in the marketplace. So I'm coming at this with a level of confidence to say, yeah, decent budget. Now as business owners, let's take control, get that mindset right, and really push on.